that you need to do internally. Thank you, Jesus. In many ways, and we are already, since we entered here, there is a work of grace ambayo inaendelea katika maisha yetu. Kuna kazi ya neema, upasuaji wa neema. There is a work of grace that is going on in us. So just keep getting your word, keep getting your deliverance as we continue. Just keep, whether it's by song, whether it's by word, the Lord is already in this place. Oh yes. A couple of weeks ago, the Lord started speaking into my heart about talking and speaking to his people about managing the stresses of life and managing disappointment, handling setbacks, and learning to go through transitions, because those are things that are with us to stay. Every one of us in this place, we are either facing a disappointment, handling a setback, sometimes both of them, and sometimes in the middle of a transition. Transition ni katikati ya mambo. Siko hapa, siko pale. Niko hapa katikati. This door has closed and the other door has not opened. I am here in the hallway. Those are what we call transitions. Last week, Pastor Alube, when he came and spoke, he spoke about a sound. I do not know what you have been hearing the whole of this week, but he spoke about a sound. And he talked about a few things. He talked about the obvious. He talked about the abstract. Yale mambo hatuelewi vizuri, unaona marudurudus, but unaona kidogo kidogo. Then there was the complex. Yale mambo, you need help. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You need help to put the pieces together. And he said that different sounds were released at different times. One of the things I have learned as I have thought about sound this week is that sound travels slower than light. Wale tulienda your class, I think it was class 5, that light travels faster than sound. Si ni kweli? Is that true? Meaning, by the time a sound is reaching you, you have probably seen something. Because light will hit something before the sound comes. Why is this important? Today we'll talk about disappointment, setbacks, and transitions. But I am introducing this. Why is light important? If you look at the prophets, whether the minor prophets or the major prophets, mara nyingi utakuta every time Mungu alionyesha mnabii maono. What is vision? Vision is what? Maono. Aliwaonyesha vision. He asked them, what do you see? Is that not so? Unaona nini? What do you see? And the prophet would say, I see this, or I see the other, or I see the other. And the Lord would either say, you have seen well, or he would say, look again. Jesus touched a blind man. Akamuuliza, unaona aje? Unaona nini? Akasema, mimi ninaona vitu abstract. Ninaona complexity. Ninaona vitu abstract. And the Lord said, let me touch you again. Why? Clarity of sight is important. Very important before you hear the sound. Why? Because if you just see and you don't wait for the sound, and the sound here, I'm interpreting it as instruction. The sound of telling you, enda hivi, Peter pale. If you just see and you do not wait for the instruction, you stand at a place of error. Why? Because you will see that girl is beautiful. But you did not wait for the instruction. Is she the one? Then you error. Sight without sound will cause you to go where you are not planning to go. Your sight must be lazima usubiri kidogo tu usikie maelekezo. If you just operate with goose pimples, oh my goodness, that guy, when he talks, it just blows me away. You have to pause a bit and wait for the sound. Sight without sound will mislead you. What have you seen? Umeona nini? What have you seen? Because we are all seeing. What have you seen in the business realm? What have you seen? What are you seeing in the family level? What are you seeing? What are you seeing in your life? Where are you? Are you seeing a fig tree? Are you seeing a fruit? What are you seeing? Whatever you are seeing, whether it be promotions, whether it be transitions, whether it be opportunities, whether it be relationships, I beseech you to tarry a little for the sound of instruction. That's what we are doing this morning. Let me make a few definitions. Oh my God, Father, just speak to us this morning. Help us handle, because this is the life we live in. Setbacks. Disappointment. Disappointment means this, that you have sadness. You have displeasure that has been caused by the non-fulfillment of your hopes and expectations. That's what disappointment means. That you are sad, you have displeasure. Kuna kitu imekurab the wrong way. Kuna kitu imekukasirisha. Kuna kitu imekuweka kwa kona because of unfulfilled hopes. Kuna jambo ulitarajia, pengine hata ukapangia. You allowed that thing to take root. You allowed it to give you hope, and then that hope has been put aside. Vile ulitarajia hakukwenda vile. Ulitarajia by now I should be delivered from pornography. Na bado uko na shida tu. That's why Paul says that some of you by now ought to be teachers, lakini kuna vitu bado mnapambana nazo. By now I should not be. By now spahali niko sikui nikivuta vitu fani. Mvinyo ninafaa nikuwe I am delivered, but I am still grappling. I talk about these things because you guys, you people know the fights you have. When we all come here in the house of the Lord, I have no idea what you fight. But I speak about these things because they affect humanity. You are disappointed, sometimes with yourself. Then what am I still doing? Mbona mushinda nikirudi kwa ile relationship? Why do I allow that man to treat me like that? Why do I allow that woman to treat me like that? Mbona ninajikosea heshima? You keep beating yourself. Sometimes it's personal disappointment. Sometimes it's disappointment caused by things. But disappointment basically means unfulfilled hopes. Vile nilitarajia hakukwenda hivyo. I put in my money somewhere. I got into a friendship thinking that this was my partner, prayer partner. I got into a business deal, but hakukwenda vile nilitarajia. You got disappointment. You got disappointed. Whether your disappointment has been caused by another, whether your disappointment is self-caused, whether your disappointment has been caused by an environmental thing, today we are dealing with how to overcome and move on. We are dealing with that. Because disappointments are part of life. Ziko nyingi. Disappointments are there. Even now, nikaanza kuuliza pale tuanze Brian, ni nini imekudisappoint? You'll be surprised. Kila mmoja wetu, we have something or someone or an issue that has disappointed us. And disappointment causes you to feel sad, causes you sometimes to get annoyed, to get angry. It causes you to do that. Why? Matarajio yalienda kando. How do we deal with that? That is the definition of disappointment. I'm going to tackle that together with setback. Now, this is what setback means. Setback means a reversal. Reversal ni nini? Ni kurudi na nyuma. A reversal or a check in progress. Reversal, hiyo hata ni ngumu kuliko disappointment. Kwa sababu setback means nilikuwa nimeanza mwendo. I had already started the journey. In actual fact, setback is abortion. The seed was already there. It had already implanted. The baby was already growing. And then something happened that causes that which was already growing to abort. That's a setback. That's a setback. There was already progress. Ulikuwa umeregister. You have already done a lot of things. You have put in your money. You have registered that organization. You have already popped the question, dada, utanipenda? Nata akakubali kidogo, and then after a month akakuja akasema, I've changed my mind. That's a setback. Disappointment is when she refuses from the onset. Alikataa tu. You go home, you nurse your wounds, you are disappointed. But setback, alikubali. Lakini mlipoendelea na safari, aka-change mind. That is a setback. Why? Because you have invested time. You have invested money. You have invested passion. You have invested yourself. Every time you have invested in something, and then it does not materialize as you expected it, that is what we call a setback. And setbacks are many. I see a lot of investments here. Some of you need investment ya pesa. Iyo pesa ilienda hivi, ikazama, ikakunywa maji. It just went, it's not there. Some of you need investment ya watoto. Uli invest in your child, in your son and in your daughter, and they have not exactly come out the way you expected. Some of us, it is just investment maybe of our, somebody like maybe engineer here, maybe we are looking at retirement packages and retirement investment. And then you have saved all your life with a certain organization. And when you are just about hitting your 60 and thinking, now I have a retirement package, wanasema walizama. That is a setback. COVID taught us what setbacks were. Tulifunga nyumba, tukakaa kwa nyumba. Irrespective of ulikuwa na deal gani, of which college had called you, of which organization had called you, COVID brought us to a place of setbacks. So when I talk about setbacks, think about COVID. That's where we were. Some of us, our investment ni mapenzi. You have given love. Some of us, our investment is time. You have poured time. A lot of time into something, into someone, into a project. And then finally, they kick you. Could be a business partnership. You've invested, they kick you. Could be a job where you work, kick you. But all those things happen to us, setback. Sinikweli, tunaelewa setback. I'm going to deal with disappointment and setback, and then I'm going to deal with transitions on its own, because transition is different. Transition is different. But for the sake of definition, I'm going to tell you what transition means. Now, transition means this. Transition is the process. It's not an event. It's not a happening. It's a process. A process or a period of changing from one state or one form to another. Transitions, ni process. The best way I can explain a transition is by explaining the different states of water. When you put water in the fridge or in the freezer, it becomes ice. It is still water. It still has the compounds and the components of H2O. 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen. Is that so? Imagine I learned that one. I can't remember. It's still water, but it is solid water. Hiyo maji ukitoa kwa fridge uweke hapo, or you put it on the fire to boil, or you just leave it on room temperature, it becomes liquid, fluid, aqua, liquid. It is still water. If you take that water and put it on the fire and let it boil, it releases steam. The steam is still water. That is transition from one state of existence into another. That is what we call transition. But let's go back to disappointment and let's go back to setbacks. Gentlemen, do you want to sit there or you want to go? You can go. You can go. You can go. Thank you for a job well done. You can go. See, tuwapatie, let's give them a God bless you, guys. God bless you. God bless you. Every one of you, we celebrate God because of you. Thank you. We celebrate what God is doing in you people. Disappointment. Sometimes, if you're a student, I meet a lot of students who come to me and tell me, I am so disappointed at how I performed. I'm disappointed. Nilisoma, nilieka bidii, nikafanya hivi. I thought I would get a mark that would take me to college, but I'm disappointed. So that is somebody already handling disappointment. It's very important for you, when you deal with somebody who is disappointed because of an issue, it's extremely important that you don't add to the disappointment. All right, we are getting there. I meet a lot of people, maybe job ilibadilika, maybe you got a cut from your paycheck because seasons changed. Pengine ile nyumba unaishi ikaongezewa ikakushinda. So it meant that you had to look for a smaller place. That wasn't what you wanted. You get disappointed. There are so many things in this life. Na zingine ni ndogo. Uyo dada alini-ignore. Zingine ni ndogo tu. Alini-snob. But because I had an expectation, I get disappointed. Sometimes I get disappointed by the way you talk to me. I'm not talking about you. I'm just giving an example. We might be friends or we might be colleagues, and I get disappointed by the words you choose to talk to me. So disappointments are many, very many. How do we move on from disappointments? How do we move on from setbacks? Okay. I'm going to the answers. How do we move on? Number one, when you come to a place unakuta uko disappointed na uko na setback. Two things might have happened before I give you the point. Two things. Either jambo lilitendeka ama wewe kahekima fulani kalikuondokea. Sometimes we are in processes because wisdom was not operational. That's the truth. There are disappointments we face, setbacks we face because wisdom was not available. And is it a wonder that the word of God says, pray, ask. If any man lacks wisdom, let him ask. For a long time, mimi nilikuwa nafikiria hiyo scripture inanitukana. Inasema, I also think this scripture is not nice. If any man lacks wisdom, why is the Bible telling us we lack wisdom? But let me tell you something. We all lack wisdom in different areas. We all lack wisdom. You might be very wise in one area. You might be an amazing parent and a terrible spouse. You might be an amazing spouse and a terrible parent. You might be a very good business person and a terrible investor or a terrible, so every one of us have issues. There's two sides of the coin. You might be very good in this, very good in this, very good in this, and then you realize you need wisdom in a lot of other areas. Very important for us to allow ourselves. Number one, when you find yourself in that place, lean not on your own understanding. Lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 11:14 says, where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. When you're disappointed and you have a setback, lean not on your own understanding, because your understanding is already impaired by the fact that you are angry. Aufikiri straight, you're not thinking straight. When you're angry, when you're disappointed, chances are you are unable to think objectively. Lean not on your own understanding. Ukisikia kuna kitu imekukasirisha, kuna mtu amekudisappoint, enda ulale. Because trying to sort it at that point is not going to work well, because you are angry, the other person will be angry, you will not get any results. Lean not on your understanding when you're disappointed. Go to the Lord in counsel. Ndio tulisema, ukiona jambo Subiri sound. Wait for the instruction. When you see something, whether something is magegania or it is marudurudu, those are Greek words. Whatever it is that you have seen, whether it's a displeasure, whether it's a pleasure that has setbacked or disappointed, lean not on your own understanding. Why is it important for you not to lean on your understanding? At that point in time, your understanding and your reasoning is not working straight. Get a friend. Get a friend. Get a friend. When we talk about where there is no counsel, the people fail, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety, the word of God is simply telling us, learn to seek counsel. Learn to ask. The moment you know everything, you never inquire, you never ask anybody's opinion, you will even never know when you are failing or when you are falling. But learn to ask. Seek counsel. Get mentors. Me, I am big on mentors and counselors. Get somebody that you can confide, that you can talk. Whether it's a colleague, whether it's a friend, whether it's a spiritual authority, get somebody who can help you see what you are not seeing. The third eye. We call it the third eye. Let somebody else see for you. Lean not on your own understanding. Lean not on your own understanding. Useme, hapo nilikosea. Then you add makosa ingine. Uongeze makosa ingine. Take a break. Lean not on your own understanding. Ask somebody. Number 2. Allow yourself to process the emotions of disappointment and setback. Because it comes with emotions and setback. Psychological, emotional, all those things. Because you are part of it. Allow yourself, by the way, to get disappointed or to feel. A few years ago, a young woman I was mentoring got into a problem. And she came and called me and told me A, B, C, D. And then I paused. I did not say anything. I paused. And she started giving me instructions of how I should handle her issue. And I told her, listen, please do not dictate to me how I handle my disappointment about this issue. Allow me time. Let me process my disappointment. I'll come back to you. And indeed, she did. She allowed. And we passed through and went through that phase. And today, she's one of the strongest young women I know. When you face disappointment and setbacks, allow yourself to process the emotions. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Allow yourself to feel the pain. Why do I say that? Pain, believe you me, is a teacher. As bad as it is, pain is a teacher. If you never allow yourself to feel the pain of something, you stand in danger of repeating the same mistake. When our children were young, and then you light candles, you know how it is with children. They wanted to touch the fire. And me, as the ever-protective mother, I will be the barrier there. I said, no, you can't touch. The father said, no, let them touch. He told me, the candle, let them touch the candle. You want to touch the candle? It's all right, touch. And they touched. That lesson that was learned was the last time we discussed, can I touch? Because there is a sort of an experience that you get when you allow yourself to feel the pain of something that you failed in. I'm going somewhere with that story. It's important. Lakini ukifanya kitu useme hata sijali, haijalishi to move, shida ni yao, let's move on. Every time you disregard something, a setback or a failure or a disappointment that you are going through, every time you disregard it, the truth and the fact is you will repeat it. But when you allow yourself to go through the process, sit back, evaluate, and know where I went wrong, you have learned from that process. Allow yourself to process the emotions of that setback. The other thing is, every time we do not process that setback, psychologically and emotionally, we end up in despair, we end up in depressions. Because we are African, we were never taught to process how we feel. Sinikweli, we were never taught. The African men, they know they are not supposed to cry. Even our little boys, we tell them, hai, wanaume awaliagi. So already that child knows that this I am not allowed. I am not allowed to process a particular emotion. And we grow up that way. And so later in life when we meet many deep things, we never process emotion and we end up in other places of mental breakdowns, nervous breakdowns, emotional breakdowns, because we never learned to process emotions. Listen, allow yourself to feel the pain. You want to cry? Cry. Yesterday I got a call early in the morning from a friend because they had lost a loved one. And as I called aside another friend to go and stand with them because I was far. And as this friend was going, we kept talking over the phone and we kept talking and all. And when they got to where they were going, even as he was talking to me, I could hear the wailing on the background. And so he was asking me, my goodness, how am I going to ask these people to keep, to be quiet? I told him, don't do it. Don't. Today is not the day of encouraging anybody. Today is not the day of giving them scriptures. Today is not the day of telling them, encourage yourself. Jitie moyo. Today is a day of crying. Let them cry. Tomorrow we shall pick up. Let them cry. Now, when you go through disappointments, allow yourself to process the emotion. You want to cry? Imagine cry. Once you have cried, you'll be surprised at how clear. It gives you clarity about you coming later to do it. Do something that you like. Process the emotions. Process it. Don't deny the pain. Don't deny. Don't deny. Allow yourself to grieve the disappointment, the loss of what you have lost, the opportunity of whatever you have. Allow yourself to process. And when you do that, Psalms 1:11-67, if I can have that. Psalms 11. Okay. Could I have a microphone with Josephat? 1:11. I'll read this one, and then Josephat, when you are ready with the next one, you will. This is Psalms chapter 1:19. Thank you for having it on the board. Psalms 1:19 and verses 67. And this is what it says. Listen to these words. Before I was afflicted, I went astray. But now I keep your word. This is the psalmist saying, in actual fact, there is a gain I got from that affliction. In actual fact, there is a lesson I picked out of it. He says, before I was afflicted, I went astray. But now, because I have learned from that affliction, now I've learned to keep your word. If you have gone through a disappointment or a setback, tafadhali isipotee bure, take the lesson. Usiache ipotee, take the lesson. Usirudie tena, take the lesson. Just take the lesson. Take the lesson so that we don't repeat it. Okay? All right. Why? Because as we said earlier, pain is also a teacher, so that you don't repeat the same mistake. Pain creates boundaries. Do you know pain creates boundaries? Think about it. If something has pained you, you will create a boundary. That's what we did with the candle fire. Once somebody put their finger there and they realized this thing can burn, a boundary was created. So allow those things that you have gone through to inform you, to create boundaries, healthy boundaries, so that you don't burn twice. Burning once is okay. Burning twice, by the time you're burning the third time, somebody here is not thinking well. By the time you're burning a third time, shida ni wewe. Kuna shida. Because the first one, fine, it happened. The second time, you should have been adequately informed by the first one. But by the time you're doing it a third time, that it means you're a bit slow in taking your lesson. Number 3, take a break. Pause. Stop running without clear direction. Stop it. The idea is not to run. The idea is not speed. The idea is to move in the right direction. So stop activity. Take a break. That is not something we understand very well in this side of the globe. It's not something we do. We don't understand taking time for ourselves. It's a new concept normally. We don't understand. Because we are communal people, we live within community, and my life is not my own, it belongs to you. So it doesn't matter what I'm going through, I never take time to take a break. If you are going through a process of setback, imagine take a break. What is a break for? What is a break for? Take a break and rest. I'm almost sounding not very spiritual. I know you expected me to come. Take a break and rest. So that when you come back to the grind, you are making progress in the right direction. What does a break do? If you have ever used GPS, if you've ever used the GPS when you're driving or you're going somewhere, it gives you the direction of a particular place. But if you go and you lose direction, GPS recalculates, recenters you, and recalculates the same destination using an alternative route. Meaning, we are still going to that direction, but you do need to take a break and recalculate. The other day, we had some guests somewhere, and where we were was a bit interior. And so we dropped a pin for this guest, but we told them, where you are coming to us, you might get lost even with a pin because there are no roads. There are no proper roads. You will go, there are no roads. And they said, no. No. I've done this a lot. No. I've always said, fine, no problem. So we gave them the pin and the GPS and we waited for them. After about 30 minutes, they started giving us calls. They started calling and saying, no, this GPS is making us get lost. Because it says go straight ahead, but straight ahead is somebody's gate. Because there are no roads. The roads that are in the GPS are not yet effected on the ground. So where it tells you pass here, it's literally through somebody's boma. And we had to recalculate. Sometimes when you have a hit, that kind of a thing, please take a break, recalculate. Wacha kupita katikati ya boma za wenyewe. Stop it. Wacha kupitia maishani kwa watu, boma za watu, ndoa za watu. Stop, recalculate your position. You don't have to break things because I was going that direction. Stop, recalculate, take a break. A break helps you rethink. I want us to do a little bit of an exercise, believe you me. One of the things that you did when you went to school or when you applied for a job, there is a place that they ask you, besides your qualification, whether it's secondary, whether it's tertiary, whether it's university, whatever level of education, kuna mahali pengine au kuuliza aje, what are your hobbies? Si ni kweli? Do we still have that when we apply for things? What are your hobbies? And for a while you might wonder, why is a potential employer asking me about my hobbies? What they are trying to find out is whether you have systems in place to be able to handle yourself when you get disappointed or when you have setbacks. Do you have systems in place that help you rest, that give you a break? For the next 2 or 3 minutes, if you're not seated next to a person you can talk to, please stand up, go to your friend, ask them, what are your hobbies? Next 5 minutes, I give you time. And take an answer. What are your hobbies? Na usiseme ni maombi. Ama kusoma Biblia. Usiseme hizo. What are your hobbies? Stand up. You can stand up and walk around. What are your hobbies? Uliza mtu. At least akupatie 2 ama 3. Kama ukiwa stress, wewe utaka kufanya nini? How do you release yourself from stress? I can see Pastor is laughing because I know his hobbies like crazy.